Hello student, today's topic is respiration from your specialization paper Animal Physiology Theory First. So today we talk about the respiration. Mostly we can say that the respiration is essential physiological activity of all living organism. In mostly we can differentiate in two way, that is in physiological way and in biochemical way. So first definition expressed in a physiological respiration. That means the gases exchange between the organism and the environment. We can say that the movement of oxygen from outside environment to the cell within tissue and transport of carbon dioxide in the opposite direction means from the tissue to outer environment. So that is physiological respiration. What is meant by the biochemical respiration? So we can say that the biochemical respiration is a process of oxidation of food in presence of oxygen and form the waste product, that is carbon dioxide and water. Or maybe we can say that the biological respiration is a metabolic process by which an organism obtains energy in the form of ATP. That means adenine triphosphate and NADPH by oxidizing nutrients and releasing the waste product. We know that there are three types of nutrients we have consumed, that is carbohydrate, proteins and fatty acids or fats. First of all, carbohydrate can split into glucose molecule, that is smallest unit of carbohydrate. Second one, protein, can be distributed into the amino acid, and then lipids can be differentiated into fatty acids. So this smallest unit of the nutrients can be oxidized to produce the ATP molecule, that is the respiration or biochemical respiration. This respiration can be differentiated into two main types, that is first one is external respiration and second one is internal respiration. First one is external respiration. So external respiration is a type of respiration which is carried out by lungs and its accessory structure. External respiration is also called as breathing, which includes two phases, namely inspiration and expiration. We can say that inhalation or exhalation. Inhalation is usually a active movement. The contraction of diaphragm muscle causes a pressure variation, where the exhalation is usually a passive process. Okay, that is out throughout the carbon dioxide out of the body into the environment. Mostly we can say that the breathing is bring air into lungs, where the process of gas exchange take place between the air in the alveoli and blood in the pulmonary capillaries. Mostly this type of respiration commonly available in the higher animal groups. In some lower organisms such as jellyfishes, earthworms, etc., can their skin play the important role in respiration. Mostly in amphibians also, the skin serve as a respiratory organ. Next type is internal respiration. So internal respiration, we can say that it is the gases exchange between the blood or other circulating fluid and the active cells of organism constitute internal respiration. Since it takes place at the cellular level, we can say that the cellular respiration. So mostly this cellular respiration we can also distribute into the two types. That is first one is aerobic respiration and second one is anaerobic respiration. So mostly we can say that the aerobic respiration is the oxidization of nutrients in the presence of atmospheric oxygen to obtain the energy in the form of ATP molecules. So mostly the aerobic respiration means it is the process of cellular respiration that take place in the presence of oxygen gas to produce energy from food. Mostly the energy which obtained for our work is mostly from the carbohydrate molecule. Carbohydrate, the smallest unit of carbohydrate is glucose molecule. In last semester of MSc first, you study this type of respiration or this type of processes, that is Krebs cycle, glycolysis, formation of acetyl CoA, citric acid cycle. Okay, so or etc. So these all the cycles are related to the aerobic respiration, that is in presence of oxygen molecules. So mostly in aerobic respiration, one molecule of glucose is react with the atmospheric oxygen which is inhaled by the our body to produce the ATP molecules. Mostly the one glucose molecule by with the help of Krebs cycle produce the 38 ATP molecules or energy molecule, and waste product, that is carbon dioxide and CO2, which is exhaled by the body system. Next one is the anaerobic respiration. So mostly anaerobic respiration is a process which take place in the absence of oxygen gas. Okay, so here the nutrients can be from the products, but in absence of oxygen. Okay, the process of energy to produce, okay, so energy to produce or to obtain the energy by the breakdown of glucose in absence of oxygen. For example, fermentation of yeast. Mostly in human being also there is a formation of uh, anaerobic respiration take place whenever you exercise fastly or do some work. You can feel or experience that your muscles are get cramp. So mostly what happen? So mostly the our skeletal muscle produce glycogen and glucose are converted into pyruvic acid or pyruvic acid by glycolytic pathway. So mostly pyruvic acid is then oxidized into the CO2, that is carbon dioxide or water, by the Krebs cycle and the oxidative phosphorylation. Under such a condition, moderate anaerobic respiration is formed and pyruvic acid is reduced to the lactic acid. Mostly lactic acid formation take place during the anaerobic respiration whenever our cell didn't get the most of the oxygen or get less oxygen, then the cell to produce the energy start the anaerobic respiration. So, anaerobic respiration commonly occur in the protozoans, helminth parasite like ascaris, tapeworm, in some mollusks like crustaceans, or in some marine animals where the high tide and low tide occur. So, during high tide and low tide, there is a lack of oxygen are formed, so that they adapt to that environment, lack of environment. So, they adapt to the anaerobic respiration to produce the energy. Let's see the what is difference in between the aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So first of all, aerobic respiration require the oxygen molecule. So in presence of oxygen molecule, glucose or other nutrients such as the amino acid, glucose, fatty acid are get oxidized to produce energy, but in presence of oxygen. But in anaerobic respiration, glucose molecules or other nutrients can be oxidized without oxygen. Second one is respiratory substrate is fully oxidized. So respiratory substrate means glucose molecules, amino acids, fatty acids. So these nutrients or this respiratory substrate can be oxidized, fully oxidized to produce the ATP molecules. But in anaerobic respiration, respiratory substrate, that is glucose, amino acid or fatty acid, are incompletely or partially the oxidized. As we know that the respiratory substrate, that is glucose, when one molecule of glucose can be produced the 38 ATP molecules likewise. Okay, so in this process, that is glucose react with the oxygen and produce the ATP molecules. Also they also form the end product also, that is waste product, that is carbon dioxide and water. So in aerobic respiration, end product is carbon dioxide and water. But in anaerobic respiration, where the glucose molecules oxidize without oxygen, form the ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide. Mostly this aerobic respiration occur in cytoplasm. First process of the oxidation is take place in cytoplasm and then the mitochondria. But in aerobic anaerobic respiration, it is entirely occur in cytoplasm. We know that the aerobic respiration mostly occur in the mitochondria, which is a respiratory pigment or respiratory site, or it is a powerhouse of energy. We know that the mostly the ATP molecules are formed in the mitochondria. So mostly aerobic respiration occur in the cytoplasm and mitochondria, where the anaerobic respiration occur in the cytoplasm. Mostly in aerobic respiration, when the glucose molecules react with the oxygen, form the 38 molecules of ATP from a single glucose molecule. Okay, so 38 molecules of ATP produced in the Krebs cycle by the single molecule of glucose, where the anaerobic respiration just only form the 2 ATP molecules from a single glucose molecule. Mostly, this aerobic respiration includes the electron transport chain, where the NADPH, FADH are also converted into the ATP molecules. But in anaerobic respiration, electron transport chain are not required. Mostly, aerobic respiration is run continuously throughout the life in plant and animal cell, where the anaerobic respiration occur continuously in only the some microorganism like protozoans or bacteria, and in others they take place in the temporary conditions such as in humans or vertebrate, when their muscles or their cells get the less oxygen. So this is the difference in between the cellular respiration, that is aerobic respiration, and anaerobic respiration. So mostly next point is respiratory medium. Mostly the animals who inhale the gases to get the oxygen from the air and water. The terrestrial animals get the oxygen from the air, and aquatic animals get the oxygen from the water bodies. Mostly we can say that the oxygen having the two main sources, that is air and water. So these atmospheric gases are soluble in water to a certain extent, and their solubility depend on many factors. For example, about 1 ml of oxygen is dissolved in 100 ml of water at 0 degrees Celsius, where the temperature decrease, sorry, in increase of temperature there is a decrease of solubility of gases in water. Temperature, when the temperature increase, the solubility of gases also decrease, vice versa. So mostly the air content having the volume of gases is different. For example, nitrogen content of the air is 78.09%, where oxygen is 20.95%, carbon dioxide is 0.03%, and other gases in very trace amount. Mostly the oxygen requirement for different animals is different. It generally expressed in the number of ml per kg per hour. Many factors such as the body size, activity, and temperature influence oxygen consumption in animals. Generally, mammals and aves have larger amount of oxygen when compared to the lower vertebrates. So muscular as well as the other type of activity increase the oxygen consumption in an animal. For example, in man during exercise the oxygen consumption increase 50 to 20 times than the resting volume. Mostly the oxygen consumption also depend on the sex, temperature and metabolic rate of animals also. Next point is respiratory organ. So respiration is carried out by a variety of respiratory organ in different animal group. So mostly the main respiratory organ in animal group may be the integument, gills, lungs, swim bladder, alimentary mucosa, pulmonary chamber, labyrinthine organ, arborescent organ, trachea, water lungs, epipodite, book lungs, tracheal gills and book gills. So let's see some example. First of all, integument. So integument is a highly vascularized skin of many organisms play an important role in respiration. This type of respiration we can say as a cutaneous respiration. So mostly this cutaneous respiration present in annelids, mollusks, terrestrial isopods, fishes, amphibians. For example, the eel can exchange 60% of its respiratory gases through the highly vascularized skin, and this is enough to permit the prolonged activity in moist air. So, cutaneous respiration is also important in all amphibians. Cutaneous respiration enables the amphibia to remain submerged in water for long period. Second example is gills. So we know that the gills are usually the respiratory organ of aquatic animals. The gills are vascularized, ciliated, and motile. So gills we can be divided into two types, that is external gills and internal gills. So mostly external gills are phylogenetically more primitive. Among some amphibians, the length of external gills filaments have been shown to change with the oxygen content of the water as a salamander. Second one is internal gills. This found in the all group of large aquatic animals, both in invertebrates and vertebrates. So let's talk about the fish gills. So mostly in fishes, the gills are internal. They are located in gill pouches. The gill pouch open to the exterior of the external gill slit and into the pharynx by the internal gill slit. The gills of fishes are lamelliform or filiform. The gills consist of visceral arch and lamellae. The lamellae are plate-like in lamelliform gills and rod-like in filiform gills. The gills may be hemibranch or hollow branch. Hemibranch gills lamellae are present on only one side of visceral arch, and in hollow branch the gill lamellae are present in both sides. So third is lungs. So mostly lungs is a vascularized air sac, and this type of respiration can be say as a lung respiration or pulmonary respiration. This type of respiration we see in the higher animals such as the mammals, aves, reptiles also. So for example, human being. In human being, the respiratory organ is lung. There are two lungs. They are spongy in nature, located in thoracic cavity. Mostly the lungs are cone shaped and having the two lungs. Okay, so right lung having three lobes and left lung having two lobes. So lungs are connected to the external nostril through the respiratory passage. The respiratory passage consists of external nostril, nasal cavity, internal nostril, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchus, bronchioles. So mostly the trachea is windpipe located inside the neck. Trachea divided into two branches called bronchi. The bronchi enter the lung and called primary bronchi. The primary bronchi divided into further secondary bronchi. Secondary bronchi divided into tertiary bronchi. And the bronchioles lead to the alveolar ducts. So mostly these alveolar ducts open into the wide space called as a vestibules. These vestibules receive many infundibula. Each infundibuli has a bunch of alveolus or air sac. The alveoles consist of single layer of epithelial cell. The lung receive deoxygenated blood through the pulmonary artery, and the oxygenated blood is carried away from the lungs by the pulmonary vein. Next type is trachea. So mostly trachea is a characteristics of arthropods. So these are form a system of air tube communicating with the outside through the spiracle opening on the skin. The trachea are formed in the investigation of cuticle which branch everywhere among the tissue. The tracheal system consists of spiracles, trachea, tracheoles, and air sac. Tracheal respiration is found both in aquatic and terrestrial arthropod. It permits rapid oxygen exchange. This figure is represent the cockroach tracheal respiration system. So last one is book lung. So mostly book lungs are present or is a respiratory organ of scorpion. Mostly scorpion has a 4 pairs of book lungs. Each book lung consists of stigma, arterial chamber, lamellae and pulmonary chamber. There are many respiratory organs among the kingdom Animalia. So they are more than the so are they more. So in this lecture we see this the types of so in this lecture we see the what is meant by respiration. It is a causal exchange between the environment and lung, their biochemical way, that is aerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is take place in the presence of oxygen, which dissociate or oxidize the glucose to form the energy. Anaerobic respiration, that means in absence of oxygen we form the energy. Then the oxygen level in the air, we inhale the oxygen right from the air, and it also present in the water for the aquatic animal and the respiratory organ in different organisms. So in next lecture we see the anatomy and structure of the human being. So that is for today. See you in next lecture.